The next installation I'm talking about is titled All Was Well. It was composed in 2021. Let's first look at an excerpt. In contrast to Clever Animals, All Was Well is primarily composed from a musical perspective. Here there is a different kind of open form, more about that in a moment. First, a few comments on the topic. In the 1920s, the painter Paul Klee taught at the famous Bauhaus in Weimar, Germany. Klee's aesthetics are a great role model for me. In his paintings, he often works with more or less basic visual structures. What is special about them is that he always charges these structures with meaning in a very poetic and associative way. One example of this is his painting Aufgehender Stern, Rising Star. In his classes at the Bauhaus, Klee showed his students the relationship of elementary figures to space and gravity. One figure is the scale. Here is a page from Klee's sketches. In All Was Well, I shift the principle of the scale from space to time. The left weight represents the present. In a real-time presentation, the current date and time. Here, a recording from March 14, 2021. The right side, on the other hand, represents the past. The fluctuation of the scale is thus the fluctuation between nostalgia and existentialism. I mentioned that All Was Well is a different realization of the idea of open form. The acoustic layer is crucial here. Unlike in Clever Animals, there is no repertoire of items that only repeat themselves in different variations and combinations. Instead, there is a musical process which is constantly evolving. This progression has no end and never returns to a previous point. The difference can be illustrated as follows. In Clever Animals, the items A, B, and C appear in different variants without influencing each other. In All Was Well, there is an infinite story, because the later A results from the earlier A according to the principle of evolution. The main concept here is working with patterns. I play an excerpt. You hear a short figure that gradually changes slightly. The algorithm is responsible for this. I will now show you how it works in principle. In the first step, the algorithm generates a chain of pitches. Let's call it a melody. The melody progresses in second steps, randomly downwards or upwards. In rare cases, there are octave jumps. As already said, Always Well is an infinite installation. This means that the generation of the melody continues virtually forever. In the next step, chords are generated under the melody pitches. The number of pitches in the chord varies between 2 and 7 pitches, with the probability of fewer pitches being higher than that of many. These chords are then repeated with a number of repetitions varying randomly between 1 and 12. A transposition sequence is then placed over these chords. The transposition interval changes randomly step by step, but always only by a second. The transposition moves a maximum of 6 semitones above or below the original position. In the next step, the durations are set for a selected number of chords, groups with lengths from 1 to 49. There are 4 possible process types: accelerando, retardando, repetition, and random values. Example: the algorithm randomly chooses a group length of 10 and accelerando. Then the duration of the following 10 chords will be shorter and shorter. The rhythmically designed chord sequence is then transformed in a kind of arpeggio, which means that the pitch sequence sounds one after the other in a random order. The rhythm of these arpeggios can vary greatly. With longer durations, a kind of musical motif is created. In the final step, the pitches of the resulting motif are slightly detuned independently of each other. The detuning interval is between 30 cents up and 30 cents down. The sequence generated in this way is then instrumented. There are piano, harp, and toy piano samples that are manipulated through reverb and panorama. Sine tones are added every now and then. Now let's listen to and watch another excerpt. The sounds are absolutely consistently synchronized with the movements of the scales and the letters. What emerges here musically is reminiscent of the motivic development of traditional music. When I listen to it, my interpretation fluctuates. Am I hearing an action by a composer? Or is there a mechanical mechanism? So here too the scale is at play. It is a fluctuation between active and passive. Only the present, not the past, can be shaped.